Hi, everyone. Welcome to the PrepZone Podcast. It's my pleasure to have here today with me Coach Zach Festa. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'll introduce you a little bit. Coach Festa has joined the Staples football coaching staff in 2023 as the offensive line coach. So 1 year, one state championship.
Not too bad.
Not too bad at all. You played offensive line at Anna Maria College after graduating from Sacred Heart High School.
Yep.
You're also part of the coaching staff of the Staples High School boys hockey team.
Yes.
We touched base on that too. And currently you are the assistant superintendent at Sterling Farms Golf Course.
So actually that changed. It's a little bit older. So now I'm at the Golf Performance Center in Ridgefield. Same role.
Very cool.
Yes.
All right. Very cool in Ridgefield.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, I want to kick off asking you about your perspective from the state championship of the football. How did that go for you? Bring us in a little bit of how that season went for you.
It was one of those things where I joked with the kids, and I'm sure, word's gone around school that I do owe the kids a tattoo. So for the kids watching, Christmas break, it's coming. Tattoos cost money. I got bills. All right. So I said that, coming in, I was like, oh, I don't know if we're favorites or not, but let's give, something cool at the end, a little reward.
Right.
And then I think it hit around Wilton where, we kind of gutted that one out in the rain, the pouring rain. We just bared down and did what we needed to do. And I believe it was Max Murillo had that really big interception at the end of the seal. And you kind of sat back for a second. You're like, oh, we might have something here. And that's when it kind of clicked for me a little bit later. And that's where it is kind of clicked. I was like, oh, we're a good team. We have a chance to go all the way. Because we were not the team that was week 1 West Haven or week 3 against Southington. We're a completely different team at that later on in the year. So then it kept going. Then that, we had that gritty win against Prep, and then, we go out there.
That game was cold.
That game was really cold.
That game against Prep was cold. I remember being on the field with you guys. That was cold.
That was cold. And then, battled the elements again, and we were able to really put up a big number against Southington Part 2. Okay. And I think that just kind of set up where it's like, we're the team that nobody wants to see. And, we knew what was going to happen against West Haven. It was like we was going to come down to the last play. It was going to be a gritty team and a gritty game, and we just had a little bit more grit.
Yeah. And listen, I was around the team a lot, and the amount of credit that everyone around the team gave to the offensive line and how, it was the forte of the team. Right, so you came in. How did that offensive line come about, and what was your coaching style to kind of get the team to where it was to be such a big part of that championship run?
It was kind of slowly but surely. We were kind of still feeling each other out around week 1, week 2. And when week 3 came against Southington, where it was kind of a homecoming for me growing up in Naugatuck, where it was kind of like a little bit closer. You knew about Southington going in. And that's where we all kind of started clicking around. We started finding stuff. We started getting to know each other a little bit because I got called in a little bit. I got hired later in the year. So I didn't have the Yale camp or right now we're doing some 7 stuff. I didn't have that time with the kids in the off season. So to get in late, we started finding ourselves pretty much after week 3 in that bye week, we really started to find each other more, and everything started clicking, and I kind of told them, listen, you guys are probably the toughest offensive line in the state, so let's be it. And we kind of had that whole mantra, and, I wore a Stone Cold Steve Austin T-shirt before every single game, and that was our mantra. It was like a Stone Cold Steve. We're going to arrive, we're going to tie our cleats, we're going to bully everybody around within the limits of the game, and that's it. And then we'll go home, and then we can enjoy a win.
Yeah, I used to love when the game was over, you guys would sit together and take a picture, right?
Yeah.
As the line, right? So it seemed like it was a really tight unit.
Oh, it really was, and they were tight beforehand because they played together for so long, and that was one of those things where I knew. Prime example was the kneel to end the state championship game. Everybody was kind of on edge, oh, what if they rush it? Troy and Caleb been snapping to each other since they're I forget the age. I'm not gonna say it to discredit them, but they're kids in Pop Warner snapping to each other. That was the last worry on my mind, was that exchange going down, because it was a brotherhood. That group, they did stuff outside of school and outside of football together. They cared so much, and we built that as well, and they welcomed me in too, with our group chat text. I thought that was one of the biggest things that helped build us. Was we were just we weren't doing like football related stuff. We were just doing fun stuff. Like we had a song of the day. Guys had to nominate song of the day. Guys were giving a little bit razzing back and forth about the song of the day choice. Sometimes I know I heard I submitted a couple bad ones, but it's little stuff like that
We
like
all have the guilty pleasures in our playlist, right?
exactly. and so little stuff like that I feel like built us stronger as everything went on, and it really was like I kind of looked at those, being 28, I kind of looked at the guys more as like my little brothers as opposed to like kids, and it's because I'm still in that age group where I really did like see them as my little brothers.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I look at the coaching staff, and you guys are all young.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's and I'm not saying that, an older person can't do it, but it definitely makes it easier to relate to these kids because you guys, it hasn't been so long since you went through high school yourselves. And then at the same point, you can kind of, because growing up today is a lot different than growing up, like when someone like me was, right? I mean, it's like, it was different. So I think you guys, right? I think you can relate a little bit more to them.
Yeah, it definitely helps a little bit in the age when like, they're dealing with stuff that's inside of school, whether it be their relationships or like something's happening here and there where you can like, be like, hey, like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I know it's like doom and gloom right now. The gray clouds are coming, and it looks like the storm's coming. But the best part about a storm coming is the storm's going to leave, and you're going to be a better person for it. You can always rebuild, and it's how you want to rebuild.
And it's like, you, and I know that you probably know a little bit. You weren't here, but when Barons took over, there were some rough years for the team.
I've heard.
And he's done a good job doing that. And you kind of came in, and that team. I heard you guys work a lot with the guys mentally.
Yes.
So from your perspective, what is the big mental work that comes in, and how do you think that plays in the football field and outside the football field? How come it helps them with that?
So I give all that credit a lot to Coach Matty and the neutral thinking and always positive and all the other stuff. And something that I really infected me too while I was coaching. And so, on the football field is like, you're always in that situation where, it might not be going well for you. We're down at one point in West Haven in the middle of the late third quarter going into the fourth quarter of the state championship game. And it's like, okay. Or, they score to possibly get themselves in a 2-point conversion situation to win the game. We could sat there and lay down and been like, oh, we had a good run. It was fun. Like, we're only going to have a minute 20 on the clock. Oh, well. But it's funny, like, because, like, it affected those kids and it affected us to the point where, like, I had a bad view of that play. With Murillo's saving tackle on the 1-inch line, basically, where I was on the 50. I had no idea. I thought he got in. So I look up at the clock for a second. I'm like, okay, $1:20. We got time. We're moving the football. Then all of a sudden, everybody erupts. I'm like, oh. Did that just happen? we stopped them. All right, I like taking the knee. All right, we got to recover an onside, which we're very good at recovering onside. So I was like, all right, I like our chances and our opportunities here to get something done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was right at that line, and I saw the play. And one thing that sticks to me, and you talked about positive, because, I'm around all the teams, and when you guys were awesome with all the excess, and I was sitting there, and I remember Maddie going to him right after he missed the extra points. Hey, we need you. You're going to come through. That positive reinforcement, and sometimes it can come across as like, just being all happy and go lucky, but, it helps. I think it helps. And right. It makes the kid goes, I can't let that person on. I got to go back at it.
Absolutely.
So I felt like you guys did a tremendous job with that all season long. And then you shifted right into hockey.
Yes.
So how is I know you guys had a really good run. I think that listen, the BBDI tied that game with like a few seconds to go.
Yeah,
that game was insane. That place was great, but different hockey and football, I'm sure. But how did that season go for you, and what lessons you took from it?
Well, it's definitely something I learned a lot about hockey. I was always a fan of hockey. I play a adult league. And so talking with Coach Bond, I was like, hey, like if you need an extra coach, like I can stand on my own. I cannot fall down. And he laughed. He goes, do you actually have skates? I said, I do have skates. I have a stick. I have gloves. And I do actually play. I said, I'm not that good. But like I know I'm not that good. And so he's like, if you want to coach, you're in. So
Awesome.
I took like a couple days after the season. I said, hey, like when's next practice? I'll show up. And so hockey is really fun. It was different where like I didn't really have a main role. I was kind of when people ask like what's my role on the hockey coaching staff, I just say vibes, is because that's what I try to do. Is just like keep everybody
You're like the
up.
juice guy. That I hear a lot about the juice guy. The vibes, right?
Basically, that was my thing. Is like I just kind of brought the vibes up and kept the kids in good spirits, always joking around and like because one I don't know much schematically, so I can't really coach in that sense. So I gotta make my part somehow.
Right.
So and that's what I did for the most part. It was just always keeping the kids up, always being in a good mood. Great day for some record hockey.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a lot of games. It was so much fun. I think like of everything, it's like one of those little treasures that we got at Staples that not a lot of people like take advantage of going to the hockey game, going to the arena because it's Milford, whatever. But it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I thought you guys did a terrific job. And I do want to ask you something. You and I had talked before this podcast, and you talked about your transition into Staples.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit of what you told me, how that was, and the surprises that you had coming into the school, and how everybody treated you, and how do you feel it now, and how do you feel?
So I'll be the first to, and I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but like from the Naugatuck perspective, coming down to Westport, you're like, oh, I think these kids are a little soft. But it was like the second day of camp, we were doing one of our camps, and some of these kids were pushing kids around. And I went, oh wow, okay, maybe we're not as soft as I like had my basis of. And the kids welcomed me with open arms and all that, and that was huge to start with. Is the kids were very receptive to me, and because they could have easily been like, all right, like no, this ain't it. So yeah, the kids really receptive to me. The steak dinners, stuff like that. We would go out. I had some of them over for a little pasta dinner after as well. And just like, how everybody receptive and how tough we were. Like Tanner's block on the screen for Greenwich to start the game, or our first drive, that was huge. A kid like Andrew Rossman is just taped up beyond belief. Troy was just a hard-nosed kid. Dom is a hard-nosed kid that would pull around, and you feel bad for whoever he was hitting on a pole.
Yeah.
Eddie's just a tough kid. Aiden Barnes was a tough kid, and like some of the kids that like didn't get as much play time, like Curvin was a tough kid. Curvin got in against Sulington, had a huge block that could have led to a disaster if he didn't hit it. And then back to like Ridgefield with James Horton filling in with his torn lateral meniscus. He could have said, I can't do this. Instead, it was like, hey, can you go? Like, I'm trying to find a guy. He's like, yeah, I can go. I haven't played much tackle, but I'll just ask Rossman what I got to do. And, like, just kid after kid. And, like, we have some tough-nosed kids that are coming back, like Brady Dena and Hudson Torres, that are just, like, they're tough, gritty kids. And I think that's part of, like, I give part of that to them and part of it to, like, how I just been like, listen, we got to be gritty.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what it is. And, like, yeah, the town's been fantastic. I've loved, being here, and I hope to stay here for a long time.
Yeah, listen, I think like as you guys continue to to do this, and I think it's it is results driven because you're playing varsity football, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but at the same time, you gotta I always felt like you guys put the the team and the individual kind of like so you did a lot with these kids that I mean the passion that they all have for the program, and you guys are amazing.
It is. It really does amaze me, especially coming from my high school situation where like we weren't a football school by any means. We're a basketball and swim school. We're like kids that bring that passion to that sport. Whereas like football is kind of like it's football. Like everybody goes because you have to. It's high school football. Like a lot of people go regardless of whether they like football or not because it's the social event of the week.
Right. Yeah. It's a Friday Night Lights. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's something about it, and like the culture that is not just in football but is sports across the board is really something where like kids are passionate to put on the S and wear the staples or the records across their chest, and it's something that's like crazy to me. And like parents are proud of it too. The amount of cars I see around town that are with the whatever sport, whether it be Staples rowing, Staples rugby, Staples swimming, Staples this, Staples that, and it's like, this is like It's a small town feel, and it really is to the sense.
Yeah.
Even though we're a double L school, like it's a small town feel.
You're absolutely right, because I feel like everyone kind of embraces like the teams, right? I mean,
Yes.
the seasons go through, and I'm seeing like the pride that goes from one sport to the other, right? And all these multi-sport athletes really like they do all that, and it's so much fun. Now, the question now that I have for you is, you win a state championship, now you're at the top. What do you think this year's going to be like?
It's just looking forward, and you could. Everybody has their predictions, and like you've seen the papers where it's like, oh, like whatever blessing. I think it was Maloney has a blessing in disguise getting us,
Right.
and you really don't know what's going to happen until you put your best 11 against our best 11. Week 1, Hamden, and we'll find out what we have. Yeah, we have camps that are coming up and this and that and the other thing, but that's when you're going to know how the team's looking. Week 1. Your best against their best, and you see what happens. Like, yeah, the outlook's always positive. I know what kids I have coming in. I know they're hard workers. I know they're gritty. I know they know what to do. We had a very successful JV season, but you just got to wait, because you never know who's going to like really develop over this season. All of a sudden, like some kid gets a chip on his shoulder and becomes like just a tough kid to play against, and you're like, oh my God.
Gains 20 pounds over
Exactly.
the summer, rates weight. You never know, right?
You never know. Like, I stop in at weightlifting, but like I see them at least once a week. So you can't really see where that gain's coming from until you see a numeric thing where like kids are gaining like 10, 15 pounds in an off season. It's like, that's awesome. But until push comes to shove, you really don't know what you have until you're there.
And you guys, I know you do a lot of with the youth program.
Yes.
Right. And I always feel like the youth program kind of feeds into the high school, right? So as you may be talking about younger crowd, I mean, what's the biggest advice you give them? You played, football in college, so it's like you've been through all the phases. What's your biggest advice about, how do you grow within the sport and you kind of get to that level to play, to put that record helmet on?
2 things is I don't want to say hate. I'm not a big fan of kids who stick to one sport. I'm a one sport specialist. Never been a fan of that because, for a coach, it's like I played football, I played baseball at the beginning, and I ran track. I was a thrower and a runner when I did track.
What did you run in track?
I was a 100-meter guy, believe it or not.
Really?
You're looking at this, but I always tell the kids, they're like, Coach, there's no way you ran the 100-meter. I was like, I was our 3rd fastest 100-meter guy. I wasn't the high guy. But I was 215. I could run a little bit at that time.
Right. That's awesome.
So like, don't be a one sport guy. Hard work, dedication. There's going to be parents there, might be, for parents out there that have a young kid and you want them to play at that next level. It's don't push the weight room. Herschel Walker did push-ups and sit-ups and was an all-pro.
Right.
And was one of the greatest running backs of all time. It will come in time. You don't want to push that weightlifting aspect too fast because you end up stunting a growth. Like, a little bit's fine. Like, if they're doing like 25-pound dumbbells, stuff like that, to get a little bit of muscle, that's fine. Just do 100 push-ups. That's what I did for years. I used to be able to just do 100 push-ups. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. I used to do that once a day.
And that kind of develops your body to get you to the place, right? I mean, that's great advice because, I guess the positive thing, like we talk about how everybody's involved, but the negative is when you're too involved, you kind of lose focus of it all.
Exactly.
So that is really good advice.
And don't put the pressure on yourself. That's another thing is like, and that like I told you after Southington, what is at stake when you come in. The last thing you want to do is think about it more. Because, let's say you do want to play varsity football. The field's still 100 yards. You've been playing on a 100-yard field since you started playing. I think that they may modify it for Pee Wee. I'm not really sure. I didn't play football until I got to high school because I was always overweight for what Pop Warner wanted. My dad said, you're not shedding weight. I'm not ruining your development for you to play football.
So you just started in high school. So that's
I just started actually my junior year of high school.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. And I'm sorry because I don't know. So the Pop Warner, because you were just too big, too strong to play.
No, so I was just a bigger kid. So like my dad's big. My dad's 6'4". Weight wise, I was heavy. I think, 8th grade is when a lot of my friends were playing. They wanted me to play. I was 175. I had to be like 150 at the time. Wow. And my dad said, you're not sucking 25 pounds.
Oh,
he goes, I don't care what it is. You're not sucking 25 pounds.
You're staying with it, right? I mean,
Exactly.
It's working for you.
Exactly.
That's great, right? I mean, everyone's path is different.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's like, and that's what I tell everyone. It's like, well, you don't have to play club this, club that. You don't have to go through all. I mean, everybody's path is different. Like I said, you started, late. It doesn't matter. You still play college ball. It worked out great.
Exactly. I'm here.
So that's fantastic. Listen, I know this is not going to be the only time we're going to have you here because I think that, I think there's going to be a lot of fun this season. The 2024 season. We're already in 24, so I'm always already talking.
Yeah, we're going back.
Spring's here, right? I mean, spring ball is here, so football's almost here. Then before you know it, the season's here. Then it's like it's over.
Yep.
Then we go into hockey again. But these things go by so fast. But Coach, I mean, thank you so much for everything you guys are doing.
Thanks for having me.
It's just amazing. Before we finish, I want to do some personal stuff with you.
No problem.
So everybody gets to know a little bit. You're new to town, new to us. So we'll give you some quick hits here, and you kind of give me what comes to mind.
All right.
All right. Texting or calling?
Depends on the situation. I would say I'd probably lean more towards a call if it's important.
Favorite social media platform?
Probably Twitter. Twitter or Instagram. Well, I'm sorry, X now. It's X.
It's X, yeah.
But yeah, that's one of those things. Like you see, like I'm a big like I don't tweet a lot, but I'll just dive into the replies and like you just sit there and like even if Elon Musk decided he wanted to charge $10 a month, I might consider it because it's gold.
I know it's cool. that world. Listen, I live it every day, so I know. What's the last series you binge watched?
Last series I binge watched. That's tough because I got ADD, so it's like it's tough for me to like get sucked into one show.
But then give us something that the last thing you watched that kind of stuck with you.
I'm between Man in High Castle and the Fallout series right now.
Man in the High Castle is so good.
I just started that. I'm a big history guy, so
so am I. I love it.
So I've laid really on good. That.
It's totally underrated, that series. I've watched the whole thing. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. I'm only in like the first season right now, so I'm getting there. And then I played Fallout. So like when that came out, I was like, all right, I gotta start watching that, which I still gotta finish that one too. So those are like the two like main ones I'm in between. But like with the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs, I kind of got sucked into my TV again.
Man. It's like we sports everywhere, right? But
exactly.
But yeah, it's Man in the High Castle. If you guys haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. I loved it. Salty or sweet?
I'm a salty sweet guy, like chocolate covered pretzels. I could like the bag of flips. I could eat a whole bag in a sitting.
Fiction or nonfiction guy?
Nonfiction.
On vacation, beach or sightseeing?
Probably beach, because sightseeing requires work. Like if I'm on vacation, I don't want to move.
I got it. Love it. Your best college memory?
My best college memory is probably we were 0-10 or 0-9. I forget, but one game. Gallaudet which a lot of people know is that the deaf college. We played them and we were actually not expecting to win, like none of us. So we all had our bags packed to go home, and we ended up doing the upset victory in our coach's last home game.
That's awesome.
And that was I knocked myself twice there. That.
It's all right.
So and that was probably like a really cool memory because I remember our coach was walking out. He's like, "It's a beautiful day." I said, "Oh, it's a great day for a victory today, Coach. I'm feeling it." And yeah, no, it was funny because like everyone just like pulled their stuff out of their parents' car, like all their luggage and all that. Like, no, we're staying tonight. Awesome. It was really cool.
That's cool. And the thing you're most proud of?
Probably this thing right here.
Love it.
For people at home, the ring.
Yeah, if you're listening, he's showing the championship ring. That's amazing.
Probably the ring and the ring I put on my fiance was pretty nice too, but. I keep joking with her, so I'm just going to keep the bit going that this is the better ring right
now. What's the one thing you can't live without? We know family, so let's talk it out. What's the one thing you can't live without?
That's tough because I would say probably the group chat with me and my buddies from college because that's like one of those things I could always, go at any day. Staples football is probably a second because like anytime like I get to the weight room, I'm always in a great mood to see the kids. Anytime I'm in the office, it's a great time. So like that group chat and Staples football are definitely like head and head right now, right next to each other.
Awesome. Which superhero would you pick to be your best friend and why?
It's torn between two, and it's because I'm always such a happy-go-lucky guy, and I love like good mood, and like my two favorite superhero movies are like Iron Man and Deadpool. So like Tony Stark or oh my god, I forget Deadpool's name.
I know I'm gonna blank on that too.
I forget.
But we got that.
Yeah, so like those two guys, either one, I think we would have a really fun time.
And the last one here, if you could go back and relive one day in your life, which day would that be?
See, the part of me wants to do the state championship, but I say that, and I haven't even rewatched the game yet. I haven't even watched an ounce of game film.
You haven't seen? I've seen it 3 times. You haven't even watched the game.
It's one of those things. So like when I'm a Giants fan.
Yeah, so am I.
And so like the Super Bowls, I can't watch the Super Bowls either. The 2 that I saw, because like I just remember all the stress.
Gotcha.
And so like that's one of those things where like you know the outcome, but like you still are like. You're on
How did
edge.
this happen, right?
You're on edge. You're like, oh my God, are they going to get the 2-point in? Like, is there an alternate film I'm watching right now?
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably the state championships up there. Probably change that. My fiance will get mad at me if I don't say one nice thing about her. So, probably like our wedding day when that comes in October. So,
yeah, that'll be a cool day.
Yeah, so that'll probably be that. Well, it's funny because I believe that's her good side. So I joke that I'm going to put the ring on this hand. So that way when we're holding hands, everybody can see my ring. I don't care about the band. The band's cool. The band's cool. The band's actually, it's a cool history thing. It's they grounded down pieces of a Sherman tank and inlaid it. I have a certificate of authenticity on it. It's really cool. Awesome. But forget that. I'm putting this thing on display.
Right? Here's one thing I'll say about the wedding that didn't hit me. Like I think it hit me and mine was 1999, a long time ago. But like when I saw my wife, like when it opened and I saw her down the aisle, that's when it hit me, and I know this is awesome. Right? So it's like because we're going all the plan, you're going crazy.
Yeah.
So you're
that's just like the state championship too. Like it really didn't hit me until I was in the office. I was stopping in for weightlifting, and Coach Matty was like, "Hey, I got something for you." I was like, "Oh, what do we got?" And he gave me the box with the ring on. I was like, it kind of just hit. I got like a kid on Christmas. I was like, "Oh, I gotta put this on." Like, oh my God, it's finally here. I've been like waiting for it, and when I put this on, it like finally hit, and like, but like we're doing all the stuff, and like we're celebrating. We have the halftime thing. Like we're always doing, the Walter Camp stuff, and it's like, I didn't have the opportunity to go to that, but like, you put the ring on, and it's like, oh, like this is a championship ring.
Yeah, they don't give these out to anybody.
We won a state championship, and we're the #1 team in the state.
It's pretty amazing.
It's wild to think about.
It is. But listen, you got to go back and watch that game. You got to go back and watch. I
got to do it. I want to do it with the broadcast. Yeah. I can't. I watch like I did lie a little bit. I watched like 3 plays of film, mostly because I knew what I had to find, because I wanted to switch and give Eddie some credit. Eddie Vandermeer had a huge block on Sammy's play, which like great play by Sammy and Caleb. Great ball by Caleb. Great play by Sammy. Eddie, the block that we have there is called a waterfall, where you look back and you just kind of pick somebody up. And Eddie hit that kid at as Caleb's releasing that ball. If Eddie didn't hit that guy, we might be doing a different conversation right now.
Yeah,
but who knows? I mean, we're a good enough team, but that was a pretty big play, and Eddie had a huge block on that play there, and just kind of changed. It opened everything up.
And that's the little things, right? I mean, it's the margin of error is so small.
Yeah,
right? I mean, you could go for so small because the team is so evenly matched. Everybody's so great, so it's just so much fun. But listen, I can't wait for this to start again. I know we're a few months out, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Coach Zach, thank you so much for everything you guys did this year. It was a fun ride.
It was.
It ended really well, and I think it's going to be a great season next year too as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everything you do for the kids. We really appreciate it. And as we talked before, I always read the articles, and I try to watch the morning walk when I get an opportunity.
I appreciate that. It's a lot of fun. But thanks so much for supporting it and the access. We love it.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
All right, man. Thanks so much.